Okay, we'll call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock. First up, adoption of the agenda. If anybody see any problems with the agenda, if not, can we get a motion to accept it? Councillor Cutler. All in favor? Carried. Regular minutes from the meeting April 27th, 2020. Anybody see any problems in there? Councillor Zimmer?
No, everything looked great. I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Hey, this screen works way better when I can see everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, the first action item is Bylaw 1678, the cemetery bylaw amendment, second and third reading. Marion.
All right, so Bylaw 1678 is presented, and this is in regards to the new columbarium and the inscriptions on the bronze plaques and the fees related to that and the update to Schedule A. We had first reading on April 27th, and we're asking for second and third reading this evening from Council.
Okay, Councillor Schultz will make second reading. Question.
Moved by Councillor Schultz to give bylaw number 1678, the cemetery bylaw amendment, second reading.
All in favor? Carried. Who would like to do third reading? Councillor Carlson. Question.
So I have moved by Councillor Carlson to give bylaw number 1678, the cemetery bylaw amendment, third and final reading.
All in favor? Carried. Moving on to number 2, Bylaw 1687, road closure bylaw, second and third reading. Marion.
Okay, so this bylaw, we received first reading on that bylaw at the November 12th, 2019 council meeting. Following that, we required 2-week circulation. The public hearing was held on December 9th, and there were no comments received at that public hearing. Now that's for a laneway closure. If you all recall, the property is to be transferred to the adjacent residents. Further to the public hearing, then we had to send the bylaw to the Minister of Transportation, and the minister has now approved the bylaw and returned it to us. So we're now presenting that bylaw for second and third reading. Following the passing of the road closure bylaw, there will be a land use bylaw amendment coming forward that you have passed first reading on to change that zoning to R1 for residential purposes. So we would be looking for second and third reading this evening.
Okay, with Councillor Schlossberger, second reading. Question.
Moved by Councillor Schlossberger to give bylaw number 1687, the road closure bylaw, second reading.
All in favor? Carried. Third reading.
I'll give bylaw 16.
Councillor Cutler.
Ooh.
Question.
Moved by Councillor Cutler to give bylaw number 1687, the road closure bylaw, third and final reading.
All in favor? Carried. Number 3, bylaw 1698, the off-site levy bylaw, first reading. Marion.
All right, so with the completion of the Starline Business Park Area Structure Plan, the infrastructure planning for that area has continued. There is a variety of off-site infrastructure projects that must take place to provide services to that development, including a sanitary sewer upgrade and a 5th Street East development. An offsite levy helps to pay for the roads and the municipal utilities that are required off the site for a particular development or subdivision that will directly or indirectly benefit that development. The payment of the offsite levy is a one-time requirement, and it'll be imposed as a condition of approval of the development or subdivision of that area. So this is on development of phase 1 of Starline Park, or Business Park, sorry. So it's south of Highway 520. And let me just see. Oh, and we would be reviewing that every 5 years or so. So the draft bylaw has been reviewed by the FIPSI committee and is being recommended for first reading. In accordance with the Municipal Government Act, once this bylaw receives first reading, it must be advertised and must be given second and third reading after that notice has been given. There is no public hearing required, but we do have the advertising for 2 weeks as per section 606 of the Municipal Government Act. So tonight we're just presenting it for first reading.
Okay, who would like to do first reading? Councillor Schlossberger. Question.
Moved by Councillor Schlossberger to give bylaw number 1698, the offsite levy bylaw, first reading.
All in favor? Carried. Next up, number 4, bylaw 1700, COVID-19 relief bylaw, second and third reading. Marion.
All right, so bylaw 17, this is to provide economic relief to businesses and individuals within the town of Claresholm in relation to COVID-19. And so it is an amendment to the tax penalty bylaw and the utilities penalty bylaw, and it is in effect for the year 2020 only. And that is to not impose a penalty on taxes until December 31st, and that the utility penalties that would normally be applied between March 23rd and September 30th be suspended. And then for all billings that remain unpaid after September 30th, the penalties would begin to be applied at a rate of 5%. We received first reading of that bylaw on April 27th, and again, we're looking for second and third reading of that bylaw.
Hey, who would like to do second reading?
I'll do a second reading on bylaw 1700.
Councillor Zimmer. Question.
Moved by Councillor Zimmer to give bylaw number 1700, the COVID-19 relief bylaw, second reading.
All in favor? Carried. Third reading. Councillor Carlson. Question.
Moved by Councillor Carlson to give bylaw number 1700, the COVID-19 relief bylaw, third and final reading.
All in favor? Carried. Number 5, bylaw 1701, the electronic transmission of documents bylaw, second and third reading. Marion.
Okay, so again, this bylaw received first reading on April 27, and it's a bylaw to allow for the electronic transmission of documents specifically related to our tax notices and our assessment notices. And this is coming out of some training that was received by Municipal Affairs, or that was presented by Municipal Affairs that our staff has been involved in. So basically it just allows for the residents to provide consent for the electronic transmission of those documents and the protection of the information that's included in those. And then there's a fee attached for $5 as an incentive to sign up for electronic, and $5 if fees would be applied to the account if they cancel the electronic transmission. So again, we'll be looking for second and third reading this evening.
Okay, who would like to do second reading?
I'll do a second reading of 1701.
Councillor Schultz? Just put your hand up, Craig. You're always a little behind the time there. Question?
Moved by Councillor Schultz to give bylaw number 1701, the electronic transmission of documents bylaw, second reading.
All in favor? Carried. You're going to be okay, Lise. Who would like to do third reading?
Councillor Moore here, I can do it.
Okay, Councillor Moore. Question?
Moved by Councillor Moore to give bylaw number 1701, the electronic transmission of documents bylaw, third and final reading.
All in favor? Carried. Number 6, bylaw 1702, the 2020 property tax rate bylaw, all readings. Marion.
All right, so this is the property tax rate bylaw for the year 2020. And as council is aware, property tax rates can be established once the operational budget has been, and capital budgets have been passed by council, and that the annual assessment roll has been prepared. The property tax rate is calculated by dividing the tax levy required against the assessment class or subclasses. So in addition to the municipal tax rates, we do have taxes that must be collected or revenue that must be raised for other sources such as the Alberta School Foundation tax requisition and the Housing Management Board requisition. And those tax rates must be identified separately on our tax notices. One of the other rates that we have to establish is the MD rate that is applied to those properties that we annexed in our annexation agreement on the east side of town. The MD has not yet passed their rate, but they have provided us with the rate that they are presenting to their council for approval. So if that rate changes, we may have to do an amendment to those properties that are within the annexation area. But we do need that bylaw passed tonight so that we can get our tax notices out in time and provide proper notification for those taxes to be due on June 30th. We will hold off on issuing the tax notices on the MD properties until we do have confirmation from the MD that those rates have been passed by way of bylaw. A couple of other things that we want to bring out tonight is that in 2020, the provincial budget saw a couple of items that reflect on our tax collection for this year. And one, as council is aware, is the new police funding model. So we had talked about putting that as a separate item under our tax notices. Municipal Affairs has made it clear that under the Municipal Government Act, we can only break out specific taxes on our notice. And again, that goes back to, if you remember, we had to remove the $1.25 on those notices as well. And so what we have proposed and was included in your package tonight is a flyer that will go out with tax notices, really explaining what that impact was to our property taxes this year, and also explaining that with the grants in lieu, they reduced that by 50%. So there's another $11,000 revenue cut that has impacted our budget this year. So we saw approximately a 3.8% growth in our non-residential assessment this year and a 3% growth in residential, which again helped us to manipulate those tax rates to actually be able to lower them slightly, but still collect the revenue that we're required to balance our budget. The draft property tax rate bylaw is attached here for council's consideration tonight, and administration is recommending that we approve all 3 readings of the bylaw tonight so that we can get the tax notices mailed by the end of the week. So with that, in order to proceed with 3 readings in one evening, prior to 3rd reading, there must be a motion to allow for 3rd and final reading. And that must be unanimous consent amongst council in order to allow that to happen. So that's presented tonight. The Audit and Finance Committee has reviewed this with administration, and we're recommending that this be approved.
Any questions? If no questions, could I get somebody to do first reading? Councilor Schlossberger. Question.
Moved by Councillor Schlossberger to give bylaw number 1702, the 2020 property tax rate bylaw, first reading.
All in favor? Carried. Second reading. Councilor Carlson. Question?
Moved by Councillor Carlson to give bylaw number 1702, 2020 property tax rate bylaw, second reading.
All in favor? Carried. Who would like to make a motion for unanimous consent? Oh, Councilor Cutler. Question.
Moved by Councillor Cutler to give unanimous consent to give bylaw number 1702, the 2020 property tax rate bylaw, third and final reading at the same meeting.
All in favor? Carried. And who would like to do third? Councilor Zimmer. Question.
Moved by Councillor Zimmer to give bylaw number 1702, the 2020 property tax rate bylaw, third and final reading.
All in favor? Carried. Moving on, bylaw 1703, recycling materials management bylaw amendment, second and third reading. Marion.
All right, so bylaw 1703 is an amendment to the bylaw 1676, the recyclable materials management bylaw, and that is relative to adding 2 subsections to that bylaw. One is related to receptacles required to be brought back onto the corresponding property within 24 hours from the collection of those materials. And as well that the customer is responsible for the cleanup of any materials that may be knocked down, tipped out, or blow out of their receptacles. So we received first reading on April 27th, and we're looking for second and third reading on that bylaw as well.
Okay, who would like to do second reading?
Councillor Moore here, I can do second reading. Sorry, Craig.
Okay, question?
Moved by Councillor Moore to give bylaw number 1703, the recycling materials management bylaw amendment, second reading.
All in favor? Carried. Who would like to do third? Councilor Zimmer. Question.
Moved by Councillor Zimmer to give bylaw number 1703, the recycling materials management bylaw amendment, third and final reading.
All in favor? Carried. Number 9, bylaw 1705, the fire protection bylaw, first reading. Marion.
Mayor McPherson, we have bylaw 1704 first.
That's what you said, wasn't it? No, I did not. I checked off the wrong one. Okay, sorry. Bylaw 1704, the Regional Assessment Review Board.
All right.
Marion.
Yes, so this bylaw is presented in response to our municipal accountability program review and some requirements for changes to that regional assessment review board. This bylaw received first reading on April 27th, and we are now looking for second and third reading this evening.
I would like to do second reading. Councillor Schlossberger. Question.
Moved by Councillor Schlossberger to give bylaw number 1704, the Regional Assessment Review Board bylaw, second reading.
All in favor? Carried. And who would like to do third reading? Councillor Cutler. Question.
Moved by Councillor Cutler to give bylaw number 1704, the Regional Assessment Review Board bylaw, third and final reading.
All in favor? Carried. Number 9, bylaw 1705, the fire protection bylaw, first reading. Marion.
All right, so bylaw 1663, the fire protection bylaw was passed just 6 months ago, but it's come to light that there was an oversight in that bylaw, and that's relative to the annexed lands to the east of town. And those lands are still operating as agricultural. And it's quite common for farmers to burn trees, branches, weeds, or crop waste during their agricultural operations. And so there was an amendment to that. As well, we've added an amendment to the direct control zoned land, which would allow the town staff to actually have a permit to do an open burn in the compost area that's in the northeast section of town. So there's no fee for that permit. What we did though, because there was change to definitions and some substantial workings within the bylaw just to accommodate this. And so rather than just doing an amendment, we're actually revised the bylaw and proposing that we pass a new bylaw 1705, which would then rescind bylaw 1663. So this evening, we're just looking for first reading of that bylaw.
Any comments? Any observations?
All good.
Okay, if somebody would like to make first reading. Councillor Schultz. Question.
Moved by Councillor Schultz to give bylaw number 1705, the fire protection bylaw, first reading.
All in favor? Carried. Number 10, delegation response, disc golf tones, course proposal. Marion.
At the April 27th meeting, there was a presentation to put a frisbee, I guess, or disc golf course at Centennial Park. So I guess, council needs to discuss that a little bit. We've looked at it a little bit administratively. We've got some information from Alberta Transportation because that property is adjacent to Highway 520, and so we know that there will be some regulations around that. If council is in agreement with the use of that site, my recommendation would be that council make a motion to refer this to administration to work with the proposed, the group that proposed the golf course, and we would need to work out the details and the regulations that would have to go around that, and also, what's the maintenance, what's the times of use, all of those kind of things would have to be addressed.
Comments?
Well, after I was, I like the idea. The only things I had was with it paralleling the 520 there. I'm not a big fan of that. And then also on the north end cutting through. I know if I was camping there, I wouldn't want discs flying into my campsite and hitting my trailer, my trucks. You know, you're cutting too close to the campgrounds. So, I mean, I like the idea. I think it's a great idea. I was just wondering if they would have like a secondary location as opposed to in the middle of a campground and bordering a road.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my feelings too.
Mine too. Yeah, I really like the idea. I think it's a great sport. It's been around a long time, but that's my concern, being right there on the 520, and then also the people. Well, and it's also a playground right there as well. So how does it get cordoned off so that, because they're big, the discs are pretty big.
Yeah.
Without it being huge funding. The only place I've ever seen them is in pretty forested places. So I don't know how but I really don't know very much about it. I just can't imagine how they're going to make that limited amount of space, and it's just big open space. When I've seen them, it's like a golf course. You know, it's a challenge to get to different and try to hit the hoops. But I don't know. Is there another location they could be in?
Patterson Park, perhaps. The dog area on the east side.
I think that would be better.
Well, you couldn't use the dog park.
No. But the old golf course used to be there, so
Straight east of Patterson Park. It's something that if you guys are interested one way or another, we can have administration investigate with the people involved and see what they can come up with.
Yeah, like that guy last time and stuff. Like, I mean, this Edmund guy, he seems to be motivating and geared, and it's a great thing for him to want to put something like that in the community. I just do work that Craig said tonight, going in and out of those campers and stuff like that. It just seems to me maybe too much stuff in too small of an area.
That's the only one that bothered me was the two right behind the campers. The rest of them I thought we could live with, but those two I went over and had a look, and they're pretty tight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are. And then, I mean, again, the campers, the road, and then like Lisa mentioned too, you're going to be bordering the spray park. And I mean, I know you're not intentionally tossing that way, but you never know what could happen. Next thing you know, you got a disc flying off into a little kid somewhere. You know.
Well, I'm looking for a recommendation for something. Which way do you guys want to go?
My vote would be to know there's an alternate location. Is there something more fitting for their sport? That's mine.
yeah, I would like to see something like that in town, Mr. Mayor.
Marion, do we need a motion to direct administration to go investigate another location?
Yes, we would need a motion to that effect. The other thing is, I guess if we have the discussion about the property east of Patterson Park, is that an area that council approves of us moving forward? Because I hate to go back to the group and say, well, here's a suggestion, and then we come back to council and council says, no, that's not the appropriate location. Right. So if that's a direction that you would like to look in, I'd like that to be part of the motion.
Okay, would anybody be willing to make a motion to recommend that we have administration approach them to make a deal with that spot?
Miss Councillor Moore here, I would like to make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Or can I just add one more thing?
Well, we got the motion, but go ahead. We got comments.
Would it be possible for maybe administration already has a better location than what they presented? Is that a possibility? No.
No, I think that probably with the dimensions that would be required, Patterson Park is probably our only other option.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's probably doable within that location just because of traffic patterns and that
Right.
as well wouldn't be quite as much of a concern. They may not be happy just because it's a little more out of the way. But, you know, I think if they can get it in town, originally this was proposed, if you remember back on the stormwater ponds. And we didn't feel that that was the appropriate location because
Right.
of the sensitivity of the wetlands there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, aesthetically, they're
Well, I think if we got a motion from Councillor Moore to proceed with the recommended spot east of Patterson Park for administration to investigate and if possible, make a deal. So, yeah, Corrine, have you got that worded somehow?
Yes, she does.
Okay. Question, please.
So I have moved by Councillor Moore to refer this request to administration to work with the group that proposed the disc golf tones course in Claresholm to address any issues that may be attached to the installation of the course and to recommend that Patterson Park be suggested as the best location.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. Number 11, opening soon. Alberta's relaunch strategy. Marion, did you have something you wanted to say in there or just information?
Well, I've just presented it for information so that council's aware of what Alberta's relaunch strategy is. Just to make council aware, we are working administratively on aligning with that relaunch strategy as far as the community and our organization is concerned. As you're aware, we made some changes to our staffing last week. We will be reopening the office on Tuesday, the 19th, but we are putting some safety measures in place for that. And there's a number of other things that we'll be discussing again tomorrow morning. And then we'll send a notice out to council and a notice out to the public as to what changes that will mean for us here as an organization. Other than that, we just ask that residents adhere to the provincial health orders and the provincial recommendations as far as keeping residents themselves safe as well as the public around them.
Okay. One thing to mention to council while we're talking about the relaunch and opening the town office next Tuesday, make sure you only have one visit per day if you're going in there, because it's still going to be split shifts, morning and afternoon. So just to avoid cross-contamination, either go in the morning or the afternoon if you have to go in there, but don't go in both, like the same day.
Well, or any day, Mayor. We would ask if you need to visit the office. My preference would be that you visit in the morning because that's when I will be in the office working. And if you need me otherwise, I would be glad to meet with you either at my home or your home. But we just want to make sure that staff is not exposed, or both shifts are not exposed to anyone at this point in time. I'm hoping that within the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to make a change there, but we'll see what the province says as far as the spread of the virus and how they open up those rules again. Our concern, of course, is the requirement for someone who has been exposed to someone who tests positive to have to be quarantined for 14 days. And I want to ensure that we have staff available to be able to provide the essential services to the residents.
Okay. Moving on to number 12, correspondence. The Honorable K.C. Madu, Minister of Municipal Affairs. The 2020 MSI program changes. Marion.
All right, so again, this is in response to COVID. And so Municipal Affairs has made some changes to both our MSI operating and our MSI capital. Our MSI operating, they have allowed us to use it for any type of municipal expenditure in the year. We currently allocate that to our library costs, and so I don't see that that's going to have any impact on us. And to be quite honest with you, I don't know how that really benefits, depending on, I guess, how the municipality allocates that. And then the capital. So every month, Municipal Affairs will send me an email, and I have to respond to them saying whether or not we will be using our capital allocation for a project for 2020. And if we're not going to use it for 2020, then they will withhold that funding until February of 2021. And that's to help the province with their cash flow based on all of the expenditures that they've had related to COVID. Just for council's information, in 2020, our allocation for capital is $816,044. We had a previous year carry forward, which gave us a total of 1.253 million. We are using 1.118758 in 2020 for our capital projects based on what's been approved in the budget. So that will leave us a carry forward of $950,481. So that's how I'll be reporting that back to the province. So we may not get our allocation until February of 2021, depending on whether the previous year carry forward counts within this calculation or not, because in essence, we are spending our 2020 allocation, but we do have carry forward from previous years. So we'll see how that plays out.
Okay. Take that for information. Number 13, the Honorable Rajan Soni, Minister of Community and Social Services, Food Security. Marion.
All right, so again, this is in relation to COVID-19, and there has been a ministerial order passed which allows a change in the FCSS funding agreements, and FCSS is now able to use their funding to provide secure access to food for vulnerable Albertans. So that's just for council's information, and as you're aware, our FCSS has been providing some hampers within the community.
Okay. 14, correspondence, the Honorable Josephine Pon, Minister of Seniors and Housing, a statement on COVID-19. Marion.
So this is just a bit of an overview from the Minister of Seniors and Housing on the response to COVID from their department and from Alberta provincial government in general, but she just talks about the rent relief that's been provided, as well as support for vulnerable Albertans, some improvements to the family violence prevention, and as well as mental health support. So that's just there for information as well.
Okay. Number 15, correspondence, AUMA Association, physicians funding changes. Marion.
All right, so AUMA has received several concerns from municipalities related to the physician funding. As you're aware, on April 24th, the Minister of Health announced further changes to that. One of the initiatives that the minister proposed at that time is that there would be a working group formed, and it would provide recommendations on how to improve primary care in rural Alberta. So AUMA has requested that a representative from AUMA be included amongst that group that would be making those recommendations. Also, AUMA is sending a letter to the Minister of Health to request a meeting to discuss the member concerns that have been brought forward, and they hope to be able to have an influence on rural health initiatives for the province.
Well, I don't know if much to say about that. I think Claresholm is going to be in trouble with the upcoming doctors and the way the hospital is going to stay functioning or not. But really at this stage, it's conjecture. So I don't think there's too much advantage talking about it right now. Does anybody, anything they want to talk about or?
Not right now.
No, I think we'll just move ahead for now and leave it for, it's going to come up in the near future.
Yeah.
Okay, number 16.
Mayor?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had a comment on that. I'm wondering if this is something that our physicians recruitment committee should get together and discuss and see if there's anything from that perspective that we should be advocating to both our MLA as well to the Minister of Health, so that it doesn't fall off the radar here and that we're actively pursuing a solution.
There's a doctor's meeting tomorrow, and Dr. Spice is gonna zoom in, and the talk is physician recruitment. So
What's Dr. Spice got to do with it?
he heads up doctor recruitment, physician.
Does he? Is that what he's doing now?
Well, that and passive care, whatever it's called.
I heard he left palliative care.
Yeah, they can't find anybody to replace him. So
Oh, so he's stuck there.
yeah,
Well,
but yeah, that's coming up tomorrow. So
well, I think that's a very good point, Marion Scott. We should get the recruitment. We should get the information out there too. They're having a hell of a time replacing the doctors they got. They're down 2 doctors right now, and maybe.
Yeah, I'm on that physician recruitment committee, and I didn't hear about it.
I would think we should call a meeting on that. I don't recall who's all on it, but
Cindy's on it. I'll tell her to call a meeting.
okay. I think I was on it. Me and Mike. Is that what's on there?
No, it's just me.
Is it just you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's perfect. Let's get you going there. And it's something to look at because right now even the way they changed the model funding doesn't work.
No.
Yeah. And just
Because
we could be there as just sitting there getting the information and sharing the information would be good.
yeah, and like I had a 3-hour meeting with Dr. Dempsey on Wednesday, and she filled me in about it. There's a lot more shortcomings than is out there in the news.
Yeah.
A lot more. So, yeah, let's do that. Let's refer it to the physician recruitment. And at least, keep their ear to the ground and put the information out to both levels of government that we are there and we're offering incentives. And I don't know what else we can do at this stage. Wait for their reports and see what happens. We don't need a motion for that. Just to
Yeah, it would be helpful if you had a motion to ask that committee hold a meeting to discuss this issue. I think it would be good to have a motion, just so it shows support of
Councillor Cutler, you'll make that motion? Okay. Question when you're ready, Kareem.
Okay, so I have moved by Councillor Cutler to refer the physician funding changes to the Claresholm Physician Recruitment Committee to discuss the matter further.
All in favor? Carried. Number 16, correspondence. AUMA deadline extended for the AUMA resolution submissions. We'll just take that for information. They moved it by a month. Number 17, correspondence. AUMA Alberta Police Advisory Board appointments. Again, this is just letting us know that they have appointed some people to it. Marion, you got anything big to add there?
No, just that there is 4 members from the current AUMA board that will be sitting on the interim board for the police funding model. And hopefully we see some positive results from that, because that has such a huge impact on our current budget as well as our upcoming budgets.
It'll get, yeah, worse.
More significant impact.
Okay, we'll take that for information at this time. Number 18, correspondence, Community Foundation of Lethbridge in southwestern Alberta, annual Giving Together publication. This is just basically taken for information. Any comments on it?
No.
Nope.
Number 19, request for decision, Lions Club application, Amundsen Park. Marion?
Yes, so the Lions Club is working with the Amundsen Park Upgrade Committee. And in 2019, they applied for a CFIP grant for the gazebo on the corner of the northeast entrance to the park. And they were unsuccessful at that time, but they've been working with the grant writer, and they would like to apply again for this round of funding. The cost is approximately $45,000, and the application would be for 50% funding for that. So they're looking for a letter of support from council, as well as our commitment to provide the matching funds not to exceed $22,000.
Okay, Brad.
Medium rare with shrimp on the side, please.
There's got to be a fine for that.
$2.
$2 each?
No, $2 total.
Okay, who would like to make a motion for a letter of support for the Claresholm Lions?
I can make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Moore. Question?
Moved by Councillor Moore to write a letter of support towards the Claresholm Lions Club application to the Community Facility Enhancement Program for the purpose of constructing a new gazebo and entrance within Amundsen Park, and provide the matching funds not to exceed $22,500.
All in favor? Carried. Number 20, request for decision, Chamber of Commerce application, wayfinding signage. Marion?
So the Chamber of Commerce has been working with the Economic Development Committee to, they would like to enhance the wayfinding signage project. And so they are proposing to make an application for a CFIP grant and help with installation of 10 wayfinding signs for a total of $32,821.55. They would like a letter of support from council, and as well, that motion would need to confirm that we would provide the matching funds, which is currently in budget, of $16,435.77.
Councillor Schultz.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Question?
Moved by Councillor Schultz to write a letter of support towards the Claresholm District Chamber of Commerce application to the Community Initiatives Program for the purpose of constructing and installing 10 wayfinding signs, and provide the matching funds not to exceed $16,435.77.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And Craig, don't text me. That I'm not paying that fine. Number 21, request for decision, honoring WCCHS grad class for 2020. Marion?
First of all, I'll go back and apologize on my review of that. I think I said that they were applying for a CFEP grant, but it's a SIP grant they're applying for.
Oh,
So I apologize for that. The motion is correct. It was just me that was wrong.
okay, we'll take that.
I don't admit that very often.
Yeah, we notice, believe us.
Because I very seldom make mistakes.
Yeah.
Do you believe that? I've got some oceanfront property for sale too.
Yeah, right here in Claresholm. Okay, what do you guys think about this? Marion, Marion, you haven't given a presentation yet.
Well, this just, there was a request from council, just via email or text, I can't remember what it was, but one of the councillors had a suggestion that maybe we consider doing something to recognize the grads this year, just because they are missing out on their graduation ceremonies. And I believe there was an example that was given to us of a municipality in the States that was doing something for their grads. So we looked into a number of things that we could do just to do a little extra here in the community. We do know that there is some plans being finalized through the high school to perhaps put the students' names and pictures on their electronic sign with the photos looping. Not sure exactly how that's going to work. The local press, again, will be doing a full spread, recognizing the graduating class. They may do a graduation ceremony, maybe a little scaled back, but something perhaps in the fall or winter once things relax on this COVID-19. A graduation parade would not be endorsed by Livingston Range School Division due to the concerns that the event may become too large of a gathering and may not be sanctioned by Alberta Health. So with that, one of the ideas that came up was perhaps doing a banner. Just basically, there's an example of it, but a congratulations to the class of 2020. And, you know, we could put that maybe at the new town office site on the fence so it's visible to the highway. We could possibly hang it across one of the streets between light posts. That may become a concern for Fortis because of those light posts aren't anchored appropriately for the winds that we may get here that would catch that banner, but we could hang it across the downtown parking lot or somehow put it in the downtown parking lot, or perhaps we could do one here out in front of the post office. So they looked at a number of options here. KFJ Signs could do that here for us in our community. So we're just looking for some input from council on what direction you may want us to take there.
I kind of like, I think we should do like something like the banner A, for example. And if we did one down at the new, on the highway in front of the new administration building. Yeah. And then maybe do one at the parking lot downtown. Do a couple of them.
I like one of each, yeah.
They're only $150, and I mean.
And they were saying that on there, it says in there that they can make the 2.0 in the end replaceable, so we can use it later on.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so I like the idea of having one downtown and one on the highway type of thing, one of each one type of.
I kind of like A, where we salute you rather than just say, you know, the class.
Right. Yeah.
Because then it's the whole town that's saluting them with the town logo on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
I was thinking
I
the other
agree.
way.
Two.
I was
Craig,
thinking, can we not just, I mean, we got the electronic boards at the north and south end of town, so we didn't have to use banners and buy stuff and change them and replace them all the time. So could we not put that literature that you have, if you do decide to go with A or B, whichever you want, could you not put those at the entrances at the north and south end of town?
You couldn't do something that complex on those.
Well, we
But we
can
could do,
put a message on both.
You
of
can
those.
put a message.
I think the idea here is just having something right within town, just as a recognition to those students that this is sort of a unique circumstance, counselor, and I agree that's why we have those, is to provide information without having to replace signs all the time. So I think we could do them at the entrances as well as maybe have a banner or a couple of
Yeah, but I like showing it within town for people, you know, who aren't leaving town. It can be seen on a regular daily basis too.
Oh, we can put them on the highway signs, but also like these banners for $300.
Right.
I mean, it's not a big dollars and cents item, and they're not going to get a proper grab. They may never get one. You know, so I think two of them put up, one on the highway, one downtown, is, to me, that's kind of the least we can do for them.
we can also put something up on the sign that's at the arena.
The message board.
We would have those 3 locations plus the banners.
Plus the 2 banners.
I make a motion, we make 2 banners.
Any other discussion on that?
Well, I feel like it might be a bit overkill if we've got the electronic sign downtown plus at each end offering the same information and then 2 other locations offering more information for graduation. I love graduation. I think it's great.
But the electronic signs are just going to be words. There's going to be
Just gonna say congrats.
graphics to it. And
Okay.
also, you know, the kids aren't reading those signs coming in and out of town. The local residents aren't always reading those signs. Like, I never read the one in front of the arena anymore. So,
Fair enough. Okay.
okay, well, any other discussion? We got a motion on the floor. Let's vote on it. Question?
She's just typing something. Give us 1 second here, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have moved by Councillor Schlossberger to honor the 2020 WCCHS graduation class by purchasing 2 banners to be placed at the location of the new town office and the downtown parking lot, as well as celebrating them on our 3 electronic signs.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Number 22, financial report, statement of operations, March 31st, 2020. Any questions? Any observations?
no,
Motion to accept them?
I'll make a motion to accept the income statements as presented.
Question?
Moved by Councillor Zimmer to accept the consolidated statement of operations for the month ended March 31st, 2020 as presented.
All in favor? Carried. 23, information brief, subdivision referral. Marion.
All right, so upon completion of our raw water line from Pine Coulee to Claresholm, we reversed that flow out to the water co-op. So we have a piece of property that runs the pipeline out to the pump station on 520, and then beyond that it goes to the West Water Co-op. So with the MDO Willow Creek taking over the airport system, included in that is the West Water Co-op. And we do have a lease on our pump house there, but they need to own the line and going west of the vaults and the pump station there. So that subdivision is underway, and it's now before the MD Council for approval because it is within the MD. So the intent would be that from that meter vault location to the west, that property would then be transferred over to the MD Willow Creek, and from the meter vault going east, it would remain in the town of Claresholm's name. So we will provide comments to the MD that we need to ensure that that subdivision is surveyed, to ensure that the meter vault location will remain in the town-owned land with the lease to the MD, and the 2 manholes required for the line west should be transferred to the MD for their ownership and responsibility. So the deadline for comments is May 12th, which is tomorrow. So this is presented for council's information and whether or not you have any concerns with that. This is something that was agreed to back in the day when we were negotiating all of the transfer of the airport system to the MD. It's just now being finalized.
It actually goes back further than that. When we initially we did away with the flow on there and relined it for those residents, we agreed back then to turn ownership of that 100-foot strip over to either the MD or the co-op. So, I mean, it's been a long time in the making, and it's been agreed numerous times. So we'll just take it for information at this time. What happened to Craig?
I don't know.
He left the meeting? Oh, his laptop died. He's trying to get his iPad up.
We should maybe just wait for a moment for him to return to the meeting.
Yeah, if we can take just a 5-minute break.
Oh, smoke time.
Can you officially call for a recess then, Mayor, please?
Can I have I'll call for a 5-minute recess.
Okay.
And turn the camera off, please. Or do we need to, can we leave it on?
No, we should turn it off if you're taking a recess, yeah.
Turn the camera off, please.
You'll need to call it back to order, Mayor.
Yeah, whenever the camera's good. Okay, I'll call it back to order at 8:06. We just finished that one. Number 24, information strategic plan report. Marion?
It's just there for an update to council on progress we've made on the strategic plan.
Okay. And council resolutions, that's there for information. Can I get any comments on the information items?
Nope.
Any questions? If not, could I get a motion to adopt the information items?
I'll make a motion to adopt the information items as presented.
Question?
Moved by Councillor Zimmer to adopt the information items as presented.
All in favor? Carried. And could I get a motion to go in camera? Councillor Cutler, all in favor? Carried. Okay, could we turn the camera off, please? Because I know Kareen's still there because her indicator says she's here.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, we're good, Mayor.
Okay, would somebody like to make a motion to come out of in camera?
I'll make a motion to come out of in camera.
All in favor? Carried. And I guess that wraps it up. So a motion from Councillor Carlson to adjourn. We are adjourned.
Perfect.
Thank you,
Right,
Marion.
guys.
Thank you for all you do.
Camera
Appreciate it
off,
very
please.
much.
Camera.